Maxwell Grant woke up at exactly 5:30 a.m., just as he had for the past 30 years. His penthouse apartment on the top floor of Chicago's most exclusive building was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. He slipped on his running shoes and expensive workout clothes, then stepped onto his treadmill. The sun was just beginning to rise over Lake Michigan, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, but Maxwell barely noticed the view as he ran his usual 5 miles. 52. Maxwell still had the energy and drive of someone half his age. His dark hair was now streaked with silver at the temples, which only added to his distinguished appearance. His face showed few wrinkles except for the deep lines between his eyebrows from years of intense concentration. Maxwell's body was lean and fit, the result of strict discipline with diet and exercise. He treated his body like another business asset that needed maintenance to perform well. After his run, Maxwell showered quickly and dressed in one of his custom suits. His closet contained 20 nearly identical gray suits, white shirts, and blue ties. He had no patience for trivial decisions like what to wear. Maxwell believed efficiency was the key to success, and his morning routine never varied. By 7 a.m., his driver Frank was waiting with the car. Maxwell didn't speak during the ride to Grant Industries headquarters. Instead, he reviewed the day's meetings on his tablet and answered urgent emails. Frank had driven Maxwell for 15 years, but knew almost nothing about his boss beyond his schedule and coffee preference. The gleaming glass tower of Grant Industries stood 70 stories high in downtown Chicago. Maxwell had designed the building himself 10 years ago when his company outgrew its previous home. The lobby featured a large sculpture of the company logo, a stylized G that resembled both a mountain peak and an upward-pointing arrow. Employees nodded respectfully as Maxwell walked through the lobby to his private elevator. "Good morning, Mr. Grant," said Diane, his executive assistant for the past 12 years. She was waiting at his office door with his schedule printed on, a single sheet of paper and a cup of black coffee. Diane was efficient, discreet, and one of the few people who could anticipate Maxwell's needs. She had organized not just his business life but his personal one as well, arranging for his apartment to be cleaned, his meals to be delivered, and his rare social obligations to be scheduled. "The board meeting is at 10 euro. I've put the latest financial reports on your desk. And Mr. Winters called again about the charity gala next month. He's hoping you'll reconsider attending," Diane said, following Maxwell into his spacious office. Maxwell frowned slightly. "Tell him I'll make a donation, but I won't attend. I have no interest in small talk with people who only want to be seen with me because of my money." He sat down at his desk and opened the first folder without looking up. Diane nodded, used to this response. Maxwell had not attended a social event that wasn't strictly business-related in years. She quietly left the office, closing the door behind her. The morning passed in a blur of meetings, calls, and decisions. Maxwell was known for his sharp mind and direct approach. He had built Grant Industries from a small tech startup into a global corporation worth billions. His company now had interests in everything from artificial intelligence to medical technology. What had started in his college dorm room as a 2-person operation now employed over 15,000 people worldwide. At noon, Maxwell's childhood friend Peter Harris arrived for their monthly lunch. Peter was one of the few connections Maxwell maintained from his life before success. They had known each other since they were 10 years old, growing up in the same middle-class neighborhood in Ohio. "You look tired, Max," Peter said as they sat in Maxwell's private dining room adjacent to his office. "When was the last time you took a day off?" Maxwell shrugged. "The Hamilton acquisition is almost complete. I don't have time for days off." Peter shook his head. "You said the same thing about the Phoenix merger last year and the Westbrook deal the year before that. There's always another deal, Max." "That's how business works," Maxwell replied, cutting his steak with precise movements. "That's how your life works," Peter countered. "You know, normal people occasionally do things like take vacations, go on dates, or even just watch a movie." Maxwell gave his friend a cool look. "I'm not interested in living like normal people. Normal people don't build billion-dollar companies." Peter sighed, familiar with this argument. "Have you spoken to your sister lately? Laura called last week." Her daughter got into Harvard. Maxwell's expression softened slightly. His sister and her family were the only relatives he maintained contact with, though he saw them only once or twice a year. That's great, you must be proud of your niece. Yes, she's very bright. I've set up a trust fund for her education. Peter nodded, unsurprised that Maxwell's way of showing affection was financial support. Speaking of family, my son Ben is getting married next month. I'd really like you to be there, Max. Maxwell hesitated. He had watched Peter's son grow up, from a distance, sending expensive gifts on birthdays but rarely attending family events. I'll check my schedule, he said finally. After lunch, Maxwell had a board meeting about the Hamilton acquisition. The company made medical devices that could revolutionize heart surgery, but it was struggling financially. Maxwell wanted to acquire it not just for profit, but because the technology reminded him of what might have saved his mother 30 years ago. This was not something he shared with the board. They only needed to know the financial projections. The numbers are concerning, said Howard Finch, the oldest board member. This acquisition doesn't align with our usual profit margins. Sometimes we need to look beyond immediate returns, Maxwell replied. The long-term potential of their technology outweighs the short-term costs. The meeting ran late, with several board members questioning Maxwell's judgment, but in the end, as usual, Maxwell got his way. By the time the meeting finished, it was nearly 8 p.m. Maxwell returned to his office to find Peter waiting for him. You missed our dinner reservation, Peter said, but I figured you would, so I canceled it. Maxwell frowned. The board meeting ran long. We can reschedule. No, Peter said firmly. No more fancy restaurants where you check your phone every 5 minutes. Tonight we're going to a real place where real people have actual fun. I don't have time for fun, Maxwell objected. Make time, Peter insisted. 1 hour, Max. You can spare 1 hour to remember what it's like to be human instead of a walking corporation. Something in Peter's tone made Maxwell pause. He realized his oldest friend rarely asked him for anything. Fine, 1 hour. They took Peter's car instead of Maxwell's chauffeur-driven luxury sedan. After 15 minutes, they pulled up in front of a small neighborhood bar called the Corner Pocket. The neon sign buzzed faintly, and through the windows, Maxwell could see a pool table and a small crowd of ordinary people having drinks after work. You can't be serious, Maxwell said, not moving to get out of the car. Deadly serious, Peter replied. When was the last time you were in a place where nobody knew who you were or how much money you had? Maxwell couldn't remember. He reluctantly followed Peter into the bar, feeling strangely out of place in his expensive suit. The air inside smelled of beer and French fries. A baseball game played on the TV above the bar, and a jukebox in the corner was playing a song Maxwell didn't recognize. They found a small table in the corner. Peter looked around with satisfaction. See? Nobody cares who you are here. Isn't that refreshing? Maxwell was about to reply when a waitress approached their table. She had auburn hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners when she smiled. Welcome to the Corner Pocket, she said. I'm Lily. What can I get you gentlemen tonight? Maxwell barely looked up, still checking emails on his phone. Scotch. Neat. Peter gave the waitress an apologetic smile. I'll have whatever beer you recommend. And please forgive my friend. He's forgotten how to interact with actual humans. Lily laughed, a genuine sound that made Maxwell finally glance up from his screen. For just a moment their eyes met, and something unusual happened. For the first time in 30 years, Maxwell Grant felt a strange flutter in his chest that he couldn't immediately identify or control. Lily Morgan moved between the tables with practiced ease. The Friday night crowd at the Corner Pocket was larger than usual, but she handled the busy shift without complaint. 15 years of waitressing had taught her how to balance multiple drink orders while maintaining a friendly smile. At 35, Lily had long ago accepted that her life hadn't turned out as planned, but she still found joy in small moments, a good tip, a kind word, or a beautiful sunset on her walk home. When she returned to the table in the corner, she carried a glass of expensive scotch and a local craft beer. The older man in the expensive gray suit was still staring at his phone, his fingers typing rapidly. His friend, who had introduced himself as Peter, smiled warmly as she set down their drinks. "Thank you, Lily," Peter said. "How long have you worked here?" "About 3 years at this place," she replied, "but I've been in the business since college." The man in the suit, Maxwell, according to his friend, finally put his phone down with a frustrated sigh. "The Hamilton deal is becoming complicated. The board is pushing back on the price." "Max," we agreed. "No work talk tonight," Peter reminded him. "Just 1 hour of normal human interaction. Think you can manage that?" Maxwell picked up his scotch and took a small sip, his expression suggesting he was doing this under protest. "Fine. What exactly do normal humans talk about these days?" Lily couldn't help but laugh. Both men looked up at her. "Sorry," she said. "It's just that you make it sound like you're visiting from another planet." Peter grinned. "That's exactly what it's like. My friend here lives in the rarefied atmosphere of corporate boardrooms. He's forgotten what it's like down here among the Earthlings." Maxwell frowned. "I'm sitting right here." "Well, Mr. Visitor from Planet Business," Lily said, feeling unusually bold. "Normal humans talk about all sorts of things. Movies they've seen, books they've read, places they want to visit someday, the terrible date they had last weekend. You? No life stuff." Maxwell's eyebrows rose slightly as if surprised by her directness. "I see. And what life stuff would you recommend as a suitable topic?" Before Lily could answer, a loud crash came from the bar. A young man had knocked over several glasses while arguing with another patron. Without missing a beat, Lily excused herself and hurried over to defuse the situation. She spoke quietly to both men, her manner firm but kind. Within moments, the argument had settled, and she was cleaning up the broken glass with a steady hand. Maxwell watched with unexpected interest. Most problems in his world were solved with money or power. He rarely saw conflicts resolved through simple human connection. When Lily returned to check on them 10 minutes later, Peter was telling a story about their childhood. "So there's Max, covered head to toe in mud, trying to explain to my mother why her white couch now has boy-shaped dirt prints all over it." Peter laughed. Maxwell's face had softened somewhat. "Your mother never let me forget it. Every time I visited until we were in high school, she covered that couch with plastic before I was allowed to sit down." "You two have known each other a long time," Lily observed. "Since we were 10. Peter confirmed. "Though these days I barely see him unless I ambush him like tonight." "I'm busy," Maxwell said, his tone defensive. "Running a global company doesn't leave much free time. And yet somehow other CEOs manage to have families and hobbies." "And friends," Peter countered. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Lily sensed she was witnessing an old argument. "Can I get you another round?" she asked, changing the subject. Maxwell checked his watch. "No, I've fulfilled my 1-hour obligation of normal human interaction. I need to get back to work." Peter sighed. "Max, it's nearly 10 o'clock. What could possibly need your attention at this hour?" "The Asian markets are opening. I need to see how our stocks are performing there." Maxwell pulled out his wallet and placed a $100 bill on the table. "That should cover the drinks. Keep the change." He stood up to leave, but Lily didn't take the money. "Our beers cost $6 each and the scotch is $12. That's $24 total. I can't accept this kind of tip for just bringing 2 drinks." Maxwell looked genuinely confused. "Is there something wrong with the money?" "No, there's something wrong with throwing money around to avoid actual human connection," Lily said. Then, immediately bit her lip. She had never spoken to a customer like that before, but something about this man's coldness bothered her. She was probably about to get fired for insulting a wealthy patron. To her surprise, Maxwell didn't look angry. He looked puzzled, as if trying to solve a complicated equation. "I don't understand." "What my friend means," Peter jumped in, "is that she'd rather earn a fair tip for good service than be treated like a charity case." Maxwell frowned. "I didn't mean it that way." "It's fine," Lily said, regaining her professional composure. "Let me get you proper change." "No, wait." Maxwell hesitated, then reached into his wallet again and pulled out a 20 and a 5. "Is this more appropriate?" The genuine uncertainty in his voice made Lily soften. Yes, that's very generous. Thank you. As she took the money, their fingers brushed briefly. Maxwell pulled his hand back as if he'd been shocked. He nodded stiffly and headed for the door, leaving Peter scrambling to catch up. Lily watched them go, shaking her head. She couldn't imagine living a life so disconnected from normal human experiences that you didn't even know how to leave a proper tip. The next morning, Maxwell sat in his home office reviewing reports. He'd been working since 5 a.m., but for some reason he was having trouble focusing. His mind kept drifting back to the waitress at the bar, Lily. Her direct manner had surprised him. Most people were either intimidated by him or wanted something from him. She had been neither. His phone rang. It was Peter. You left your favorite pen at the bar last night, Peter said without preamble. Maxwell glanced at his desk where his monogrammed fountain pen sat in its usual place. No, I didn't. Yes, you did, Peter insisted. The one your father gave you. Very sentimental. You should go back and get it tonight. Around 7 when Lily's shift starts. Maxwell sighed. What are you doing, Peter? Being your friend for 32 years? Go get your pen, Max. Talk to someone who doesn't care about your bank account. It might remind you that you're actually human under all those expensive suits. After Peter hung up, Maxwell stared out the window at the Chicago skyline. He hadn't thought about dating or relationships in years. After Abigail left him for his business partner when he was 22, he had channeled all his energy into building his company. At first it was to prove his worth, to show her what she had given up. Later it became a habit, then a lifestyle. Relationships were messy and unpredictable. Business was clean and logical. But something about Lily's direct gaze had stirred a long-dormant part of him. She had looked at him not as Maxwell Grant, billionaire CEO, but simply as a person, and found him lacking. That hadn't happened in decades. That evening, Maxwell surprised his driver by requesting to be taken back to the corner pocket. Frank couldn't hide his confusion. In 15 years, he had never driven his boss to the same casual establishment. Twice. Maxwell straightened his tie as he entered the bar. It was quieter than the previous night, with only a few tables occupied. Lily was wiping down the bar, her auburn hair pulled back as before. She looked up as the door opened, and her eyes widened slightly when she saw who it was. Maxwell approached the bar, suddenly feeling uncharacteristically uncertain. Good evening. Hello again, Lily said. Did you forget something last night? My pen, Maxwell said automatically, then felt foolish for using Peter's transparent excuse. Actually, no, I just wanted a drink. Lily's lips curved into a small smile. The usual? Scotch neat? Yes, thank you. Maxwell sat on a bar stool, feeling out of place in his business suit among the casually dressed patrons. As Lily poured his drink, she asked, So what does Maxwell from Planet Business do when he's not working? Maxwell accepted the glass she offered. How did you know my name? Your friend called you Max several times last night, Lily explained. And you're wearing a monogrammed cufflink with the letter M. Maxwell glanced at his wrist, surprised by her observation. You're very perceptive. It's part of the job, she said. You learn to notice details about people. To answer your question, Maxwell said after taking a sip of his scotch, I don't do much besides work. It's been that way for a long time. That sounds lonely, Lily said simply. No one had said that to Maxwell in years. People envied him, respected him, feared him even. But no one suggested they pitied him. He should have been offended, but instead, he found himself wondering if she was right. Over the next 3 weeks, Maxwell found himself visiting the corner pocket regularly. He told himself it was just for a change of scenery, a break from his usual routine. But even Diane had noticed the shift in his schedule, raising an eyebrow, when he declined late meetings on certain evenings. On this particular Tuesday night, Maxwell sat at his now usual spot at the end of the bar. He had loosened his tie and even unbuttoned the top button of his shirt. Lily placed a glass of scotch in front of him without being asked. Rough day? she asked, noticing the tired lines around his eyes. Board members arguing over the Hamilton acquisition again, Maxwell replied. They only see numbers on a spreadsheet. They don't understand the bigger picture. Lily leaned against the bar. The Tuesday crowd was small, giving her more time to talk. What is the bigger picture? You've mentioned this Hamilton deal several times, but you never say why it matters so much to you. Maxwell hesitated. He rarely discussed his personal motivations with anyone, but something about Lily's direct gaze made him want to explain. Hamilton Technologies makes medical devices, heart monitors specifically, very advanced ones that can predict problems before they become life-threatening. Maxwell swirled the amber liquid in his glass. My mother died of a heart attack when I was in college. It was sudden. No warning signs, the doctors said, but I've always wondered if technology like this might have saved her. Lily's expression softened. I'm sorry about your mother. That explains why this isn't just another business deal for you. Maxwell nodded. The board sees the short-term cost and the risk. I see the potential to save lives. Have you told them that? No. In business, personal stories don't matter. Only data and projections matter. Lily shook her head. That's not true. People connect through stories, not spreadsheets. Even business people are still people. Maxwell considered this. In 30 years of business, he had never shared his personal motivations in a board meeting. He had been taught that emotion had no place in business decisions. But was that really true? What about you? He asked, changing the subject. How did you end up working here? Lily smiled slightly. The short version? Life didn't go as planned. And the long version? I was going to be a teacher. I have a degree in education. But during my first year of teaching, my mom got sick. Cancer. I moved back home to care for her, took this job because the hours were flexible. Lily wiped the bar with a cloth. After she passed away, I just stayed. It wasn't the plan. But life rarely follows our plans. Do you regret it? Not going back to teaching? Lily thought for a moment. Sometimes, but I've made peace with it. This job has its own rewards. I meet interesting people. She gave him a pointed look. Even billionaires occasionally. Maxwell nearly choked on his drink. How did you know? Google exists, Maxwell Grant. After your third visit, I got curious and looked you up. Lily's eyes sparkled with amusement. Grant Industries CEO, Forbes list and everything. Maxwell felt strangely exposed. Does that change things? Should it? Lily asked. You still leave a reasonable tip. You still get grumpy when the scotch isn't poured just right. You're still avoiding whatever it is that sent you hiding in a neighborhood bar 3 weeks ago. Before Maxwell could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at it and frowned. I need to take this. It's about the Hamilton deal. He stepped outside to take the call. 5 minutes later, he returned looking troubled. I have to go, he said, placing money on the bar. The board has called an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning. Someone's trying to block the acquisition. Lily nodded. Good luck with your meeting. Maxwell paused at the door. Would you have dinner with me? Not here, a real restaurant. Friday night? The question surprised them both. Maxwell hadn't asked a woman to dinner in decades. Lily hesitated, then smiled. Sure. But nothing. Too fancy. I don't own anything suitable for your usual 5-star places. I'll pick you up at 7, Maxwell said, feeling an unfamiliar flutter of anticipation. The next morning, Maxwell walked into the board meeting with a new approach in mind. Instead of his usual data-driven presentation, he began with a story. 30 years ago, my mother died suddenly of a heart attack. She was 52 years old, the same age I am now. The room fell silent as Maxwell continued. The technology Hamilton has developed could prevent similar tragedies. Yes, the acquisition is expensive. Yes, there are risks. But what's the purpose of our success, if not to make a meaningful difference? To his surprise, the board responded. Several members shared their own stories of loved ones affected by heart disease. By the end of the meeting, they had unanimously approved the acquisition. As Maxwell walked back to his office, Diane fell into step beside him. That was a different approach for you, she observed. Personal stories instead of just numbers. Someone suggested I try it, Maxwell replied. This someone wouldn't happen to be the reason you've been leaving the office at normal hours lately, Diane asked, her professional demeanor not quite hiding her curiosity. Maxwell gave her a rare smile. Perhaps. On Friday evening, Maxwell found himself doing something he hadn't done in years, standing on a doorstep with flowers in hand, feeling nervous. Lily lived in a small apartment in a modest neighborhood, nothing like the luxury high-rise where he lived. She opened the door wearing a simple blue dress. Her hair was down, falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She looked beautiful in a natural, unassuming way that made Maxwell's usual world of polished perfection seem suddenly artificial. You brought flowers, she said, sounding surprised. That's very sweet. Is it? Maxwell asked. I wasn't sure what the protocol is these days. It's been a while since I've done this. Lily took the bouquet of mixed wildflowers. How long is a while? Maxwell hesitated. About 30 years. Her eyes widened. 30 years? You haven't been on a date in 30 years? I've attended charity functions with appropriate companions, business dinners with clients' wives. But an actual date? Not since college. Lily placed the flowers in a vase of water. Why not? Maxwell considered deflecting the question but found himself wanting to be honest. After my first serious relationship ended badly, I decided relationships were unpredictable and messy. Business was clean and logical, so I focused on that. For 30 years? Lily looked at him with a mixture of disbelief and sympathy. That's a long time to shut out a whole part of life. I didn't see it that way, Maxwell said. I saw it as being efficient, focused, and lonely, Lily added softly, though you probably wouldn't admit that part. Their dinner was at a small Italian restaurant, nice but not extravagant. Maxwell had chosen it carefully, wanting to avoid anywhere too pretentious. He watched with interest as Lily chatted easily with their waiter, asking about his family and remembering details from a previous visit. She had a gift for making people feel valued. The board approved the Hamilton acquisition, Maxwell said as they ate. I took your advice, told them why it mattered to me personally. Lily smiled. And it worked? Surprisingly well. People connected with the story in a way they never do with spreadsheets. People want to be part of something meaningful, Lily said. Even wealthy board members. As they talked, Maxwell realized how narrow his life had become. Lily asked questions about books, movies, and music, normal things that he had little time for. But she also shared insights about people and relationships that made him see his own world differently. When he drove her home later that evening, Maxwell felt strangely reluctant for the night to end. At her door, Lily turned to him. Thank you for dinner. It was nice. Just nice? Maxwell asked, feeling uncharacteristically uncertain. Lily smiled. Very nice. Would you like to come in for coffee? Maxwell hesitated, checking his watch automatically. Let me guess, Lily said. Asian markets opening? Email to answer? Some business emergency that can't wait? Maxwell looked at her, really looked at her, and realized he had a choice to make. The same choice he had been making for 30 years. Work or life. Business or connection. Coffee sounds perfect, he said, putting his phone away. The emails could wait until morning. The cool autumn air filled Maxwell's lungs as he jogged through the park on a Sunday morning. Beside him, Lily kept pace easily. She wore simple running clothes, nothing like the expensive workout gear Maxwell usually saw at his private gym. 3 months had passed since their first date, and Maxwell found himself spending more and more time in Lily's world. You're getting faster, Lily said between breaths. When we started running together, you could barely keep up. My treadmill didn't prepare me for actual hills, Maxwell admitted, or wind, or other people on the path. Lily laughed. Real life is messier than your controlled environment, but more interesting, don't you think? Maxwell nodded. He was learning that lesson in many ways lately. His carefully structured life had been disrupted by Lily's presence, but he found he didn't mind. Each weekend now included activities he had long ignored: movies, walks in the park, trying new restaurants, simple pleasures that had no purpose except enjoyment. After their run, they stopped at a small coffee shop. Maxwell now knew the owner by name, something that would have seemed pointless to him just months ago. As they sat with their drinks, Lily noticed Maxwell checking his phone. "Work emergency?" she asked. Maxwell put the phone away. "Nothing urgent, just habit." Lily stirred her coffee. "You know, you never really explained what happened. 30 years is a long time to avoid relationships. There must be more to the story." Maxwell was quiet for a moment. He rarely spoke about Abigail, even to Peter. But Lily had shared so much of herself with him. Her dreams of teaching again someday, her complicated relationship with her father, her simple joys and deep sorrows. He wanted to offer the same honesty. "Her name was Abigail," Maxwell began. "We met in college. I thought we would get married after graduation. We had plans to start a business together, the early version of what became Grant Industries." He took a sip of his coffee, gathering his thoughts. "I had a business partner then, Jack Harrison. He was charismatic, good with people. I was better with technology and numbers. We made a good team." Lily listened quietly, giving him space to continue. "I was working on our first major project, a software program that would eventually become our flagship product. I worked day and night for weeks. Abigail felt neglected. She and Jack spent more time together while I was busy." Maxwell's voice grew softer. "One night, I finished early and went to surprise her. Instead, I found her with Jack." "I'm sorry," Lily said gently. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was what she said afterward, that I was too focused on success, that I didn't know how to connect with people, that Jack understood her in ways I never could. Maxwell shook his head. "She was right in many ways, but instead of learning from it, I doubled down. If I couldn't be good at relationships, I would be exceptional at business." "And you were," Lily said. "But at what cost?" Maxwell had no answer for that. The cost had seemed reasonable at the time, emotional safety in exchange for success. Only now with Lily did he realize how much he had missed. "What happened to them?" Lily asked. "Abigail and Jack, they got married, started a competing company. It failed after 3 years." Maxwell shrugged. "I kept tabs on them for a while, then stopped. It didn't matter anymore." Lily reached across the table and took his hand. Her touch was warm and reassuring. "Thank you for telling me. It helps me understand you better." That evening, Maxwell sat in his penthouse apartment looking out at the city lights. His phone rang. It was Peter. "So?" Peter said without preamble. "You missed our monthly lunch. 3rd time in a row. I'm guessing there's a reason named Lily?" Maxwell smiled. "Sorry about that. Things have been busy." "Busy with work or busy with life? Because those are very different things, my friend." "Both, actually," Maxwell admitted. "The Hamilton integration is taking time. And yes, I've been spending time with Lily." Peter's voice grew serious. "I like Lily. She's good for you, but I'm worried." "About what?" "That you're treating this like another acquisition, something to analyze and control. Real relationships don't work that way, Max." Maxwell frowned. "I'm not trying to control anything." "Aren't you?" Peter challenged. "You're still keeping your world separate. Has Lily seen your office, met your sister, or are you just visiting her world while keeping yours closed off?" The question hit Maxwell harder than he expected. It was true. He had been spending time in Lily's world, but hadn't invited her into his. Was he still keeping her at a safe distance? Monday morning brought an unwelcome surprise. Maxwell walked into his office to find Diane looking worried. "The Hamilton integration team found something concerning," she said, handing him a folder. "Their financial records don't match the disclosures. There may be hidden debt." Maxwell reviewed the documents with growing concern. If true, this could threaten the entire acquisition and the medical technology he believed in so strongly. Schedule an emergency board meeting for tomorrow and clear my calendar today. I need to handle this personally. The next 24 hours passed in a blur of calls, meetings, and legal consultations. Maxwell canceled his plans with Lily without explanation, sending only a brief text. Can't make dinner. Work emergency. By Tuesday afternoon, the situation had grown worse. News of the potential problems had leaked to the business press. Grant Industries' stock was falling, and investors were asking questions. The board was divided on how to proceed. Some wanted to abandon the acquisition entirely. Maxwell sat alone in his office, staring at his phone. He had promised to call Lily, but what would he say? That his grand vision was falling apart? That he had failed? His phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "Just checking in, are you okay?" He didn't respond. Instead, he worked through the night, trying to find a solution. By morning, he looked haggard, his usual impeccable appearance replaced by a rumpled suit and tired eyes. The board meeting was tense. Several members argued forcefully to cancel the acquisition immediately, to cut their losses before the stock fell further. "We can't abandon this technology," Maxwell insisted. "It's too important." "The company misled us," Howard Finch countered. "How can we trust anything about this deal now?" As the argument continued, Maxwell's phone buzzed again, another text from Lily. "Whatever you're facing, you don't have to face it alone." He stared at the message, a realization slowly dawning. For 30 years, he had faced every challenge alone, believing it made him stronger. But what if that wasn't true? What if connection was strength, not weakness? "I need 24 hours, Maxwell told the board. "Before we make any final decision, give me 1 day to find another solution." They reluctantly agreed. As the meeting ended, Maxwell did something unprecedented. He left the office in the middle of a crisis. He needed to see Lily. He found her at the corner pocket, preparing for the evening shift. She looked up in surprise when he walked in. "Maxwell, you look terrible." "Thank you for your honesty, as always," he said with a tired smile. "I need your help." Lily's eyes widened. "My help with what?" "The Hamilton deal is in trouble. They hid financial problems, and now the board wants to walk away. But the technology is too important to lose." "What can I do?" Lily asked. "I don't know anything about corporate acquisitions." "You know about people," Maxwell said simply. "And I'm realizing that's what I've been missing all these years. The Hamilton team isn't just balance sheets and patents. They're people with dreams and fears. I've been treating this like a typical acquisition, but it's not." Lily studied his face. "What are you really asking me?" Maxwell took a deep breath. "Come with me to meet them. See what I'm missing. Help me understand what's really going on inside their company." It was a request he would never have made 3 months ago, admitting he needed help, especially from someone outside the business world. But Lily's perspective had already changed his approach once before. Perhaps it could again. Lily hesitated, only briefly. "Let me call Karen to cover my shift. Give me 10 minutes to change." As she disappeared into the back room, Maxwell felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Hope born not from control and planning, but from trust and connection. For the first time in 30 years, he wasn't facing a crisis alone. The Hamilton Technologies building was much smaller than the Grant Industries tower. It occupied just 2 floors of an older office building in a less prestigious part of the city. Maxwell and Lily walked through the front doors together, an unlikely pair. He wore his usual expensive suit, while she had changed into simple black pants and a blue blouse, the nicest outfit she could put together quickly. "Mr. Grant," the receptionist said with surprise, "we weren't expecting you today." "I need to speak with Dr. Alan Harris," Maxwell replied. "It's important." Dr. Harris was the founder of Hamilton Technologies and the inventor of the heart monitoring system that had attracted Maxwell's interest. The receptionist made a quick call, and moments later, a man in his 60s with wild gray hair and a lab coat appeared. "Maxwell," Dr. Harris said, looking tired. "I suppose you're here about the financial discrepancies." "Yes, but not in the way you might think. This is Lily Morgan. She's helping me understand the situation better. Dr. Harris raised an eyebrow but extended his hand to Lily. Nice to meet you, Ms. Morgan, though I'm not sure how you can help with our financial mess. I'm not a business expert, Lily admitted, but sometimes a fresh perspective helps. Dr. Harris sighed. Come to my office. I'll explain everything. As they followed him through the building, Lily noticed something Maxwell had missed in all his previous visits. While the offices looked ordinary, the people didn't. Researchers bent over equipment with intense focus. Photos of patients lined the walls. This wasn't just a company, it was a mission. In Dr. Harris's cluttered office, the scientist slumped into his chair. I should have been more transparent from the beginning. We've been operating at a loss for 2 years, pouring everything into perfecting the monitoring system. Why hide it? Maxwell asked. Dr. Harris looked embarrassed. Pride, mostly, and fear. We knew no company would acquire us with our financial situation. But without an acquisition, the technology might never reach the people who need it. Lily listened carefully, then asked a question Maxwell hadn't thought to ask. What made you develop this system in the first place, Dr. Harris? The older man's eyes softened. He pointed to a photo on his desk of a young woman. My daughter, Emma. She died of a sudden heart attack at 28. No warning signs, they said. But I believe there are always warning signs. We just need the right tools to see them. Maxwell felt a jolt of recognition. My mother died the same way. Dr. Harris nodded slowly. So that's why Grant Industries has pursued this acquisition so aggressively. It's personal for you, too. Lily watched the connection form between the two men. It seems to me you're both working toward the same goal, saving lives. The financial problems are real, but they're not the whole story. She turned to Maxwell. When you look at Hamilton Technologies, do you see a failing company with hidden debts, or do you see a team of people dedicating their lives to a cause you believe in? Maxwell looked around the office with new eyes. The worn furniture, the outdated computers, the coffee-stained research papers, all signs of a team that put their mission above comfort or profit. I see people who care more about saving lives than making money, he admitted. Exactly, Lily said. So the question isn't whether to walk away from the acquisition. It's how to structure it so that this work can continue. For the next 2 hours, Maxwell and Dr. Harris talked openly about the real state of Hamilton Technologies, both its financial challenges and its incredible potential. With Lily's gentle prompting, they moved beyond numbers to shared values and goals. By the time they left, Maxwell had a new plan, one that would need the board's approval, but that he believed in completely. Thank you, he said to Lily as they drove back to the city. You saw what I missed. Lily smiled. I just asked questions you didn't think to ask. Sometimes the business gets in the way of the purpose. The next morning, Maxwell stood before his board of directors. He had worked through the night preparing his presentation, but this time the spreadsheets and projections were only part of the story. Yesterday I visited Hamilton Technologies with a fresh perspective, Maxwell began. What I found wasn't just a company with financial problems. I found a team of dedicated scientists who have sacrificed everything to develop technology that will save lives. He showed pictures of the Hamilton team, explained their personal stories, and shared Dr. Harris's mission to honor his daughter. Yes, there are financial risks, Maxwell acknowledged, but there are also ways to address them that preserve the mission. I'm proposing we create a new division within Grant Industries, the Harris Center for Cardiac Innovation. His proposal was bold. Instead of a traditional acquisition, Maxwell suggested bringing the Hamilton team into Grant Industries as a research division with special status. They would have 5 years of guaranteed funding regardless of profit, as long as they met development milestones. And to show my personal commitment, Maxwell concluded, I'll fund the first year myself from my own holdings of Grant Industries stock. The boardroom fell silent. Such a personal financial commitment from Maxwell was unprecedented. After a long moment, Howard Finch spoke up. You've changed, Maxwell. 3 months ago, you would have walked away from this deal at the first sign of financial impropriety. Maxwell nodded. 3 months ago, I was a different person. The board approved his plan. As Maxwell left the meeting, Diane was waiting. Congratulations, she said. The Harris Center is a wonderful idea. It wasn't mine, Maxwell admitted. Not entirely. Diane smiled knowingly. Will we be seeing more of Ms. Morgan around the office? Yes, Maxwell said decisively. I think you will. That evening, Maxwell invited Lily to his penthouse for the first time. As the elevator rose to the top floor, Lily looked nervous. I've never been anywhere this fancy, she admitted. It's just a place, Maxwell said, realizing how true that was. His expensive home had never felt warm or personal. It was simply where he slept and worked. The doors opened directly into his penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the spectacular city view. Everything was sleek, modern, and impersonal, except for a small table set for dinner with candles and flowers. You cooked? Lily asked, surprised. I tried, Maxwell said with a smile. Though I can't promise it's edible. I've never actually used the kitchen before. Over a slightly overcooked but earnest dinner, Maxwell told Lily about the board's approval of his plan. The Harris Center for Cardiac Innovation, Lily mused. It has a nice ring to it. It does. And I have another proposal. To discuss. Maxwell looked uncharacteristically nervous. The success of the center got me thinking about other ways to make a difference. I'd like to create a foundation to help underfunded schools, and I'd like you to run it. Lily nearly choked on her wine. Me? I'm a bartender with an unused teaching degree. You're a person who sees what matters, Maxwell corrected. You could go back to teaching if you want, or you could help hundreds of teachers get the resources they need. Lily was silent for a long moment. This is a lot to take in. I know. And there's one more thing. Maxwell reached across the table and took her hand. These past few months have shown me what I've been missing for 30 years. Not just romance, but connection. Purpose beyond profit. Joy in simple things. Are you trying to say you love me? Lily asked with a small smile. Yes, Maxwell said simply. I love you, and I'm not afraid of it anymore. Lily squeezed his hand. I love you too, but I don't need grand gestures or foundations. I just need you, the real you, not the billionaire CEO. How about both? Maxwell asked. The CEO who's learning to be human again thanks to you. 1 year later, Maxwell stood in the newly opened Harris Center for Cardiac Innovation, watching as Dr. Harris demonstrated their heart monitoring system to a group of doctors. The technology was already in clinical trials and showing promising results. Beside him, Lily chatted with Dr. Harris's research team. As the director of the Grant Educational Foundation, she had quickly won the respect of educators across the city with her practical approach and genuine understanding of classroom needs. Peter joined them, clapping Maxwell on the shoulder. Who would have thought a random visit to a neighborhood bar would change everything? Maxwell smiled, watching Lily laugh with the researchers. Sometimes the most important business decision is knowing when business isn't the answer. Later that evening, as they walked hand in hand through the park where they often jogged together, Maxwell reflected on the past year. His company was stronger than ever, not despite his personal happiness, but because of it. He led with purpose now, not just ambition. Penny for your thoughts? Lily asked. I was just thinking that for 30 years I thought success meant having control, Maxwell said. Now I know it means having the courage to let go. Lily smiled and leaned into his side as they walked toward home. Not his penthouse or her apartment, but the new place they had chosen together. A home that was neither too grand nor too modest, but just right for two people who had found, against all odds, exactly what they needed in each other.